Take two. Take two. Siblings of autism. This video is for the older siblings of autism because that's my experience with being an older sibling of autism, and I haven't experienced being a younger sibling of autism. I think that's impossible at this point. Oh God. All right. Siblings of autism are go through stuff like the parents do. Uh, it's very difficult for them. Let's talk about it. So siblings of autism. Making this video because I feel there's a lack of resources online for siblings with autism. Maybe I'm trash at looking for support groups and stuff like that, but I don't know. I've tried. I'll try harder, I guess. But here I am. I'm gonna make a video about it. What siblings about which can worsen? Ugh, let me restart. Siblings of autism are typically ignored, have little to no one-on-one time with their parents, and are less prioritized. And this is especially true if your sibling with autism has more severe symptoms, cannot take care of themselves, and needs a caregiver 24/7. And well, that's true. Yeah, I mean, you really need to you kind of have to step up as the older sibling because you are in a better position to understand your younger siblings what they're going through, and you're kind of forced to understand for better or for worse. But there's many stuff that might bother the older sibling, especially growing up in their youth, such as their toys, like the older siblings' toys, the neurotypical siblings' toys will always be also the atypical siblings' toys because just because I guess they just because maybe of the lack of awareness of the atypical sibling and the fact that it's just harder to explain, I guess, to the younger to the I'll call it ADS for short, the ADS siblings concept about like sharing or like like don't use your brother's toys or whatever, and sometimes the atypical sibling exhibits destructive behaviors with toys or whatnot, which could be detrimental. Well, I'm being dramatic, but it is important as a child, your toys, and if they're broken within like the day, that's pretty sad. But yeah, sometimes they get broken and stuff, and sometimes you're forced to, in a housing situation, for example, you're forced to accommodate for them if they need like a room for their quiet time or like or when they need to uh, relax from a tantrum or a meltdown. They might need their own space where it's safe. And if they need, like, for example, a room dedicated for speech therapy or other therapies and stuff, you might need to prioritize giving them a room. So you might need to not have your own room when you're young or stuff like that. And we're sort of expected to take care of the autistic sibling and do stuff for them. Uh, I think that varies between the families, but typically typically I'll stop using typically. Jeez. So the neurotypical sibling will most of the time grow up faster, having to learn to be more patient with the sibling with autism and having to grow emotionally mature faster uh, due to having to take care of another sibling with autism and understanding that everyone's really different, even with people with autism, their symptoms vary and they're very different. So you have to learn to accept people for how they are. And there are several negative or less fun or more sucky parts about being well, not that the other parts are fun, but other more negative stuff about being a sibling with autism I'm going to talk about. The Usually you feel very unimportant to your parents because they need to make time, especially if it's especially if your sibling cannot take care of themselves, need 24/7 care and attention, then the your parents' priorities will be on the sibling with autism. You don't feel special. Uh, some neurotypical some neurotypical siblings will crave the attention of their parents, but will have no way of getting them or feel guilty about it. And I think guilt is a big part of being an older sibling with autism. You may feel guilty for being neurotypical. You may feel guilty for not spending enough time with your sibling, or not being helpful, or there might be some guilt from the parents' side. I'm not blaming them, but it's a difficult thing for the whole family to go through. Sometimes you just feel guilt sometimes, and it's okay. It's honestly a gift and a curse because neurotypical siblings will sort of get like this enhanced emotion. I'll just call it emotional intelligence because they need to try to read or try to understand a sibling with autism. And uh, from my experience, nonverbal autism is way more difficult to understand the feelings and the behaviors of the atypical sibling. And there's also you might suffer some embarrassment uh, with your friends as you grow into your teenage years, because they're all in atypical families, and you don't want you might get embarrassed in public if your sibling, your atypical sibling, has meltdowns. Or uh, thankfully, my sibling is not like super violent when they get meltdowns outside of the house, but it could get scary. It could get you don't want to see meltdowns in public. Uh, Basically, feeling like half a parent at a young age. Granted, you do not take all the responsibilities of parenthood, but sometimes parents put some amount of pressure on you to take care of the sibling, which is understandable. You don't get and and there are other additional challenges uh, people may face, especially if they're less well off economically. We might have uh, a lack of access certain to certain schools or certain therapists, to certain treatments and things that could help out the atypical sibling. Maybe lack of resources for the older sibling too, uh, like paying for a therapist or stuff like that, and maybe a language barrier too when you're looking for services to help the sibling with autism, or the sibling that's neurotypical, because if I live in a I live in Canada in a French province, so like if you're bad at uh, two main languages here, French and English, then I'm assuming it's harder to find resources and information that you would need because they're not translated in other languages, I guess. So that's pretty much. I just wanted to like run down the stuff I found. This video will just be kind of like a general informational video. I'm not giving too much of my opinion or too much of my personal experience, but I might do so in the next videos. I just want to reach out to the siblings, to the neurotypical siblings that have siblings with autism. Uh, just to make sure you guys aren't alone. And yeah, I will be speaking from the perspective of an older sibling because that's the situation I'm in. But feel free to ask questions or comment and stuff.